Greetings I bid to Madam Noor Ain Aini and to my classmates. For this video, my group and I will be presenting our topic, which is the age of exploration and the genocidal impacts on indigenous populations. Starting off with the introduction, which is Ahmed's part. The age of exploration, which is a pivotal era that began in the late 15th century. It wasn't just about discovery, it was driven by the famous 3 Gs: God, Gold, and Glory. When Christopher Columbus set sail in 1492, he carried the ambitions of the Spanish and Portuguese crowns, seeking to expand their wealth and claim new territories for their kingdoms. This period fundamentally shaped the global map, but as we will see, it came at a high cost. Moving on to the historical context of the age of exploration, which is Adam's part. To understand why this happened, we have to look at the context. For centuries, Europe relied on the Silk Road for luxury goods like spices and silks. However, after the fall of Constantinople in 1453, that land route became dangerously expensive and difficult to navigate. This necessity forced Europeans to look to the seas. Beyond economics, there was a deep-seated belief in their mission. Explorers often saw themselves as bringers of civilization and salvation, using their faith to justify the colonization of the people they encountered. There are 3 key events that define this era. The first one being Columbus's 1492 voyage, where he reached San Salvador thinking it was Asia, named the inhabitants Indians, and built the settlement La Navidad before returning to Spain. This was followed by the Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494, which used an imaginary line to divide newly discovered lands between Spain and Portugal, granting Spain most of the Americas and Portugal, Brazil without any indigenous consent. Finally, Vasco da Gama's 1497 to 1498 voyage opened the first direct sea route from Europe to India by sailing around the Cape of Good Hope. His arrival in Calicut secured Portuguese access to the spice trade, marking a massive turning point in global expansion.
Moving on to the next part, I will be presenting the influence on international relations. This section was written by ELLYSSA. The age of exploration played a major role in shaping the foundations of modern international relations. The first element is Westphalian myth. Although the 1648 Peace of Westphalia is often celebrated as the beginning of the sovereign state system, this narrative ignores the colonial violence happening outside Europe. European order was built on exploitations, land seizure, and genocide in the global south. Next is the doctrine of discovery, which divided the world into civilized and uncivilized peoples. Through papal bulls, Europe claims the legal and religious right to conquer, enslave, and forcibly convert indigenous communities. This resulted in cultural erasures, displacement, and large-scale land loss. Lastly, the decolonial reality of modern diplomacy shows that colonial structures will influence global power today. Eurocentric diplomacy reinforced inequality between wealthy Western nations and the global South, proving that colonial legacy continued to shape international relations. Next, I will be presenting the section that I wrote, which is the critical analysis and implications. The age of exploration led to a widespread genocides, disease, and cultural destructions among indigenous people. Indigenous populations in the Americas declined by up to 90% due to virgin soil epidemics. European ideology, such as the doctrine of discovery, encouraged conquest, forced labor, and cultural suppressions. These parties supported Europe's economic rise but created a long-term global inequality. Today, many of these colonial legacies continue. We can see them through ongoing indigenous land rights struggles, health disparities, and growing movements demanding decolonizations and reparations. Finally is the conclusion part written by Ahmed. In conclusion, the age of exploration was not only about global expansion but also brought severe harm to indigenous people through disease, forced labor, land loss, and cultural destruction. These events shows that today's international system was built on colonial violence, not cooperation. Concepts like the doctrine of discovery and the Westphalian system justified European dominations while denying indigenous sovereignty. Understanding this legacy is important because many current issues such as inequality, indigenous rights, and environmental exploitation still come from colonial history. This is why international relations must move towards decolonial and more inclusive approaches. That is all from us. Thank you.